Hello and welcome back to Philosophical Laugh Lines. It's been a while since I have recorded audio, so this is a fun. We're back. This poem is very recent. I wrote it on my birthday this year, and it's called 29 because that's how old I am. I cry every year on my birthday. Death becomes me on my day of new life. There is a density I have trouble describing, which wakes me up with the weight of wonder and woes. I'm releasing myself, and it's terrifying. Water takes the path of least resistance, and rivers change direction most often in seasons of growth. In uncharted territory, I let myself flow. I let myself go. I can tell you what I have struggled most for is to be myself. Every trial and tribulation, every transformation, I have tried to hold on to it all. Some sense of safety, some landing of logic, but it just leaves me tired and confused. Water takes the path of least resistance, and rivers change direction most often in seasons of growth. I'm looking inside this year, letting it all out this time. My intuition floods even into my limbs, and I'm making the choice to follow, to flow, to let myself go. This episode is a lot about getting comfortable with myself and about zooming out to see things from a more accurate perspective, from God's perspective, and finding the truth in the stories that we tell ourselves and realizing that we can rewrite them to be whatever we want them to be. And I hope you all enjoyed it. I've been thinking a lot lately about how really just so much of this existence, of this experience, of this life is based on what we believe. And thinking of this in the small ways and in the big ways, I can see this in my life. I was teased when I was little for being fat. I think I've already talked about that. So then I always held this belief that I was ugly or unattractive, undesirable, all of these things that, especially in the early 2000s, all of these things that fat was thought of as. It wasn't until a few years ago that I realized that I was still holding that identity, the undesirable, unattractive one, and just I was always surprised if someone would compliment me and say I was beautiful or say I was pretty. Oh my God, thank you. And it is really, obviously, it's nice to get a compliment anytime. But if you know yourself, if you believe in yourself, then it shouldn't be shocking. Anyways, the difference I can see in the letting go of that identity, letting go of that belief, is that now, well, one, I get a lot more compliments, but also and that's irrelevant, except that just that's outside reality reinforcing a belief I have about myself because they weren't there before. And so that belief was being reinforced that I was undesirable and unattractive. And now that I believe that I actually don't really think about my appearance as far as how other people take it in. I more think about how I take it in. And I think I love what I've done with my body, like my tattoos and the way I take care of my body. And I love what's going on here, so it seems like other people do as well. Or so other people have as well. This reminds me also of something one of my favorite creators, I went on Instagram, and I think Twitter X as well, as talked about with like parties. If you are throwing parties, if you want to throw a party and you want people to come, just throw a party that, like, even if no one comes, you'll have a good time. Because then, like, that energy attracts a lot more people rather than trying to cater or, like, worry and try to check all the boxes, all the imaginary boxes that you think will bring people. Like, so much of my life, I've just done what I thought was cool or what I thought was interesting, and then now all of a sudden I'm getting a lot of approval from the outside, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, I didn't expect this. This wasn't really... Oh my god, I just thought of how many emails I'm gonna have after 2 or 3 weeks. Let's see. 2 weeks, 2 and some change. 2, almost 3. Exactly 2.5, actually. And really, like, I feel like you can also think of the belief system as, like, if you have expectations, they will be filled, or what you're looking for, you will find. Because, like, I still have times where, or I feel like my just automatic perspective was to look for something wrong. To look for something that was wrong within me, to look for something that I needed to fix within myself. And now it's like I'm looking for things that are right. I'm looking for things that back up my opinion, that back up my point of view, my perspective. I'm not like checking what's happening behind me all the time. I'm not anxiously fact-checking myself or trying to ensure myself against having any flaws. That feels like one of the biggest perspective switches. I'm not looking for ways that I'm wrong as like an insurance. I'm not trying to find the things that I'm missing. I'm focusing on what I already have. I'm focusing on all of the ways that I'm right. I'm focusing on all of the ways that I'm already doing what I want to do. Like, I had the beginnings of this thought for a while. Like, for a long time I felt like I wasn't disciplined. And also I would, especially with exercise or like creative habits and stuff like that. And I just felt like I was undisciplined. And also I was, or for a while now, for a few years, my skincare routine in the morning has had facial massage, and I've kept with it. I've been very consistent. So finding that, like, realizing that is evidence of me having consistency, having discipline, and then building on top of that, like, while I was home, I had a really disciplined, consistent exercise routine and meditation. Just in general, I had a consistent routine. And I remember I had a lot of sticky notes on my mirror, trying to reinforce, like, integrate all of the changes that I wanted to make within myself. And one of them was, like, I am consistent no matter my environment. My routine is consistent no matter where I am. And now it feels like that's true. And the important bit that, like, finally feels like it's caught is that it doesn't look the same every day. Like, the only thing that's, like, really, like, just speaking about specific routine, like, I meditate every day. I go into a trance state every day, most often to send people healing. That's, like, a non-negotiable. And I usually do it right after I wake up because it's a non-negotiable. And that's the easiest time to catch yourself before the day can touch you. Also, the exercise and the eating well, eating in a way that feeds my body in a way that feels nourishing and not overindulging, which has been my problem. I've found a lot of balance and consistency through zooming out, because I feel like this also feels related to the now looking for ways that I'm doing it right rather than doing it wrong, is that the zooming out like shows a much more detailed picture, a more detailed example of what the life actually looks like. Like if you're zooming in, like you'll see, like I think of like zooming in on of a picture of myself on, you know, when you take a selfie and you look at it, or when you're looking at a photo of yourself and you zoom in on all of the parts of your body that you know you're insecure about and just start tearing yourself apart. Like if you get too lost in the details, it will consume you in a way that, like, it depends on what you're looking for, I guess, again, but in a way that doesn't feel good, at least to me. Hasn't felt good. And so zooming out, I really feel like thinking the example of looking at a photo of yourself, especially in this day and age, with the zooming in, because like zooming in and looking at all the ways that you're insecure, like no one actually sees that in real everyday life. Like, one, you're not a frozen image in time, so like who knows also like if, you know, your double chin is there the whole time, or because everybody has one, or the rolls on your stomach are there the whole time. Like, they're probably not. And also, more than likely, everyone is looking at your face. But you're also not moving. Like, there's so much more to yourself, capital S self, than what you can see zoomed in on a photograph. And also, like, the cameras on most phones don't actually the image is much more 2D than the actual experienced image in real life. Like, you can see, like, this is you can see this also in like the difference in the way you look in a mirror versus on a camera. Like, you have a much more dynamic whole image in the mirror than you do on a camera. The camera does, especially with the like commonness, like the mass production of cameras on phones, like they flatten in general. Like, it's so annoying how it really never captures, photos really never capture what it's like to experience that person, that place. And zooming out, I feel like, is more taking in the real life, whole body, whole self, whole spirit perspective. To zoom out, you're getting so much more information. And you can allow yourself so much grace. I also feel like getting my period again helped with this a lot, like, because it allows for dynamics in routine. Like, with a female body, your hormonal cycle runs on a monthly cycle. If you're in a male body, your hormones run on a daily cycle. So I would imagine that it's a lot easier to have a routine on the date like that looks the same every day of the month. But with having a monthly cycle that changes every week, about every week-ish, every 2 weeks, there allows, like, I need to allow for dynamics in the change. And then also the zooming out, like, and allowing the changes in the routine has built so much more trust in myself that, like, I know what I want and what I need, and it allows me to listen to my body and feel what it needs in every moment, in every day. With this like now new deep-seated trust that I am going to do, like, I don't feel like the panic if I miss a day of exercise. Like, it feels so much more appropriate, and like I feel so much more accomplished by listening to my body rather than forcing it to do what it doesn't want to do. And I'm finding it even easier to like listen to how much I want to eat. Like, I can stop when I'm full, which is really nice. And also, I feel so much more fortified in my connection with spirit as well, because I feel more strongly in my connection with myself, because I really believe that your connection with yourself, with your intuition, like, we are all pieces of the ultimate consciousness of God, of spirit, experiencing different realities. And the stronger connection you have with your intuition, the stronger connection you have with yourself, with your soul, I believe the stronger connection you will have with spirit, with God. Like, there's this story. There's this flood, this giant flood, and his house is flooding. The water is knee deep, and someone comes by in a canoe, and they're like, "Hey, the water is only getting higher. Come with me. Like, I know somewhere that we can go. We'll be safe." And he says, "No, God will save me." And then he has to get on his roof, and he's like waiting on his roof. The wind is howling, the rain is still coming, and someone comes by in a big like motorboat, and they're like, "Come with us, like, we know a safe place to go." And he says, "No, God will save me." And then finally, like, he's on his chimney or something, he's holding onto a telephone pole, and the water is so high, and someone comes by in a helicopter, and they're like, "Come with us, like, we know a safe place to go." And he's like, "No, God will save me." And then finally he dies and he's in heaven, and he's talking to God or talking to Jesus, whoever, and he's like, "Why didn't you save me?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? I sent you a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. Like, what do you mean?" And I feel like the connection with your intuition, your connection with yourself, like your connection with your desires, all of these things, like, are God moving through you. Like, if you don't trust yourself, if you don't trust like your divine intuition, then are you not going to trust God? You don't trust yourself? You don't trust God? What do you mean? I also, I read the Four Agreements and another Toltec book on love and relationships, and in one of the books he said, your body has needs, but the mind interprets the body, like, the mind over-identifies with the body, and so then it adopts the needs. And if the need is coming from the mind, you will never be able to satisfy it with the body. Like, I think of how, like, I get the way I can see this in myself and my experience is with overeating, like, especially if I'm stoned. Like, I'll be wanting stimulation of some kind, and I'll eat and keep eating until I'm uncomfortable because my mind wants stimulation. I'm not hungry anymore. The mind takes this need of the body and takes it as its own, and so then it becomes something like it's not done right. It also feels so good to like be an example of, well, I'm thinking about how I think Oprah said this, you have to teach people how to love you. You have to teach people how to treat you. And that you teach them by the way you treat yourself. And thinking about how I am voicing my needs so much easier and taking care of myself so much better, I feel like it will be so much easier moving forward. Like I'm thinking about this, like if I feel like inspiration to say something for this podcast or something, like I can just be like, oh, okay, I need to go record some audio really quick. Like just actually being honest and taking up this space that you need allows everyone else to do, or I hope encourages everyone else to do the same. Like harmony comes from everyone being in alignment, not from everyone agreeing with each other. Like, if you can be more honest, if we can all be more honest and authentic, then there'd be so many less issues. If you gotta let people know where you are for them to find you. Thinking lately about the stories we tell ourselves, stories we tell ourselves, that we then kind of assign to other people. Like I'm thinking about specifically how the past few weeks I had been having a hard time, but didn't have the words yet, didn't know how to talk about it yet, but I was telling myself that the people that I cared about, the people that care about me didn't have time to listen, and then in effect, because I was having a hard time, my brain was like, they don't care to listen. And in actuality, it was like I just wasn't ready to talk about it. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what to say. And I feel like I've done the same thing with, now that I was home for a long time, and I now feel a lot closer with my family and feel a lot more comfortable with my family, but for a long time I didn't want to go back because it didn't feel like I really had a place. Didn't feel like they really wanted me around, but really it was just I wanted to go and wanted to have a reason. It's so much easier when you have a reason, when you can blame it on someone else. But the truth is, I just love traveling, and I guess needed to have an excuse for it so that I didn't feel guilty for going after what I wanted. But thinking about those are two examples of thinking about, or of two examples of the stories that we tell ourselves that are actually coming from us, but we assign to other people. It seems like it feels like it relates to how the way that we perceive reality is the way that we perceive ourselves. And I feel like also so much of this is tied into the stories that we are told when we are really, really young. Like I think about how when I was in elementary school, I got made fun of when I was in kindergarten. I was teased because I was fat and I farted a lot, which the second reason now just seems so funny. So silly. So like kids to be so mean about something that is a natural bodily function. But then, because I was a child, I adopted the belief that something was inherently wrong with me. And so then I feel like I've, in a sense, separated myself from society in a way of like protecting myself. But then it also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I really don't enjoy being in normal everyday society. Like, I don't feel a strong enough desire to be a part of it, that I don't feel a strong enough desire to be a part of it that would constitute me doing all the things that require you to be a part of it, i.e. like paying rent or, you know, all of the things that you're just like expected to do. I'm just like, this, I want to spend my time differently. I want to spend my energy differently. I don't agree with all of these practices. I don't agree with enough of them that I don't want to try overall. I much prefer living the way that I like to live, the way that I have been living. And I guess you can also do that in one place, but I'm having a good time doing that all over the world, because I also like the challenge. I enjoy the differences. I enjoy exploring all the different ways that humanity can show up and understanding humans better. But I mean, all of that came from me thinking that something was wrong with me. And so then I knew there wasn't, well, I felt like I needed to go find my place somewhere else. And that obviously started from a thorn, but it's grown into a beautiful, beautiful bush of life, if we'll continue with that metaphor. And I feel like the power really is in the aspect of choice, of choosing what we believe about our lives. And so many of these stories are unconscious. We're not even realizing that we're playing them out. And I think there's a great power, there's a great weight in allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to make a different choice. But also there's an incredible luck in being given the opportunity to change. And there's so much space to change if you give yourself the opportunity. And so many of the stories that we have built our lives around are places where we had pain, places where there's stories that we create about the world to protect ourselves from pain, because it's somewhere where we felt pain before. And so then we try to not feel it again by never trying to live out that story again. But just because something bad can happen, or just because something bad has happened, doesn't mean it will happen again. I've been hanging out with a former physicist, a lot lately. He's the owner of the sailboat that I am on right now, that I am crewing for. And we were talking about entropy and inertia, and that is something that someone that I follow online talks about a lot in the aspect of reality building. And inertia is like the Newton's law of motion, or Newton, whatever. I don't know the exact names for it. But an object in motion will stay in motion, and an object at rest will stay at rest. And entropy is essentially allowing space, or it is the space of chaos. He was telling me about the arrow of time, and it is essentially chaos, the acknowledgement that, like, he gave the example of, if you roll six dice, and you get 6 sixes, the likelihood, the time that it would take to roll 6 sixes again could take thousands of rolls. You don't know how long it could take. And so, and that has something to do with the arrow of time. As you keep moving through time, the changes, chaos changes. and thinking about reality building, and thinking about living your life, and thinking about being yourself, the stories we tell ourselves are our inertia. An object in motion will stay in motion. Our beliefs, our stories that we tell ourselves about the world, that's our inertia. And the ability to make a different choice, the ability to become a different self, see ourselves differently, that lies in entropy. When you give your stories away to someone else, when you blame your reasoning on other people, as I was talking about earlier, with the stories that I was creating and assigning, with the stories I was creating, and you could almost call it blaming on other people, when really I was the one that was still creating that narrative. And it did still turn out to be true. I don't know, it's such a tricky balance or it's such an interesting balance of nature and nurture. Nature, nurture, fate, and chaos. It's such an interesting balance. But when you assign your stories to someone else, when you give your power away for someone else to decide your life, you're giving up your inertia. You're giving up your responsibility. Because in the end, this is your life. And you have to decide how it will turn out. No one else can do that for you. It's your responsibility. It's your life. And part of what I think and part of what I've read that helps me take that responsibility for my life and not feel suffocated by it, and gives me space to choose, is that we chose these lives, and there's a reason why we chose them. And I always think about stuff and like, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And also according to what I've read, there are certain plot points that we choose the lives,
And we get to choose by looking at looking at a few different lives and kind of seeing which one we want. And we see some of the major plot points and kind of decide, I would guess, based on that. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've read these books. But so we know some of the major plot points. We've seen them already, and that's like what we signed up for. And so I also think and have read and believe that we are here to learn. That's the main point of this life, is to learn. And so when I'm having trouble taking responsibility for my life, when I'm having trouble deciding my inertia, I think back to how I chose this life and think about the ways in which I want to grow.
I hope you all enjoyed that. I know I really enjoyed recording it while on the ocean or just on the sailboat in general, because parts were on land while I was living on the sailboat and parts were on the water, as I said, and as you could probably hear. It's been a beautiful year now. It feels like like we're close to the end. It's the December just started today, so it is the last month of the year. What a fucking year, man. Big changes, big everything. It is a year, an ending in, according to numerology. 2025 adds up to the number 9, and that's been a weird vibe because I'm in a 1 year, so that feels kind of conflicting. I'm trying to begin while the whole world is ending. But last year also, when I was in a 9, that felt like just as much of a 1. And you can never really, it makes sense. Like the main thing that's changed in my physical reality is my job. So just that I don't have one anymore. But hopefully I'll have one in a few weeks, going to Australia soon. And hopefully then also my life will be a bit more stable, and so I can offer the readings again, online tarot card readings, or spiritual healing, or messages from spirit, and all of those are available on my website. And I hope wherever you are that you feel loved, that you're laughing, that you're enjoying your life, and that you're conscious of the stories that you're telling yourself, and that you can change them, and you have the power to change your life, and that I'm always sending you love from wherever in the world either of us are. Right now, love from a bathroom in Japan. Always, usually from a bathroom when it's the intro or outro of these episodes. Okay, good night.